Okay, guys, so we're gonna start. Please settle in, calm down, compose yourselves, and behave. And give it up for Artificial Rome, please.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hi, my name is Patrick de Jong. I come from a group or company by now that's called Artificial Rome. I feel a bit out of place. We don't do any motion graphics. I'm very sorry. It's all interactive. I don't have that many movies, but I'll do my best, okay? So what I would like to talk to you about is basically what we did for the past 10 years. We started out as a group of friends and slowly transformed into something like a company. And I would like to give you a short presentation on how we started and what we took on our way, and maybe give a bit of an outlook what we expect from the future, just from what we learned from the past. So just a short introduction. By now we have 9 employees, but we are a very heterogeneous group. We have designers, illustrators, physicists, really complicated word at this time, art historians, creative technologists, which is something, I guess that's what I am, and we have software architects in our team. So it's kind of a heterogeneous group. We started out in Hamburg and we have our second office in Berlin by now. What we do is we call it interactive experiences. We do that on almost every platform by now, but it's always interactive. So there's very few pure motion work that doesn't interact with you at some point. So let me start out with a short, I know this is like ancient past when you talk digital, but it's where we started as basically as a group of freelancers, and to us it's still valuable what we learned in these days. So this was our very first, very successful commercial project for a bar in Hamburg. We basically were approached by them because they had like an interior design problem, which was really ugly. The bar is called Goldfish Glass, and we came up with a concept that kind of related to an interactive pond, but it also was supposed to be an abstract painting. Let me just show you what came out of it. So as you can see, the whole documentation was done by a smartphone. We're not that professional at that time. So at first everything is abstract, but it's been explained by the interaction. So you have these elements which behave like intelligent fishes. They trust you, they start to play with you, and through that people are all of a sudden playing with each other. It's very interesting for the atmosphere in a bar, because they start out and they just want to have a beer, and all of a sudden they realize that they're actually playing with this same swarm, and they start talking to each other. So by building this piece, we were able to actually influence the behavior of the people in a bar. That was really interesting to me. What we do in a lot of our works is that we mix analog techniques with technology. So on the one hand, we program a lot. On the other hand, we just draw and paint. And to me, that was always very interesting to see these two elements fight against each other. So the problem after that, we kind of won a pitch for Inter1, and that was our largest project. We worked on this one for like 10 months, and we basically won the pitch by telling them, okay, we will do a racing game interactively in a browser, and you can race through Europe. I have to mention the time was like 2007, so there was nothing like a 3D engine like we have in our days. Let me show you what came out of it. So if you look closely, for you motion guys, there's a part that's probably acceptable, and then there's a part that's a bit rough. The rough part is interactive and is basically built in those times on a Mario 2D engine. To do that for a client like BMW kind of took some workarounds. Because we promised them that you're able to test their technologies and drive through Europe by yourself in a technology that is basically based on crap. So the way we approached the project was that we said, okay, what we need is to have a style that we can produce, that is also works in a premium way, and that we like ourselves. And what we did is we painted every texture by hand. So all of this is like watercolor works, which was then put onto 3D textures. So the bottom part is, there's no Photoshop, it's just pure aquarelle. The partner, Dirk, who founded the company with me, did that for like half a year. No business partner there, just painting. We then realized that we need something like the shadows to crop everything together. And then there came the stretch where we kind of have to tell the client, BMW, that their car can't be that photorealistic, which is kind of a hard thing to do when you ever work for any car client. But they liked the overall look, and then they bought it as like a whole product, which was in a way above their product. I think that's something you can only do when you do games, and we personally like that creative freedom that comes with it. So I would like to talk a bit about how we work. That's basically a lot of technology. We have a lot of programmers. We spend a lot of time just coding, but in the beginning we just work by drawing. We like to come up with concepts, with storyboards, just in a very analog way. Just sit together, do the first scribbles. We do even workshops with our clients like that. Because in a way you're much faster than when you start in the very beginning just with software. So basically we were very comfortable with this stuff before 2007. And then this thing happened, which was kind of an opportunity, but it also mixed us, our whole working way and our whole working environment. It was the invention of the smartphone. You probably saw this picture before. So we jumped in our first smartphone project because we thought, oh, that is great. We don't need any clients anymore. We have our own way of selling our product. We don't do advertising anymore. Wow, we are famous, very nice. And we came up with this concept of doing short messages but in a more poetic way. So that is the final result. You basically get sent a short message, but it arrives as a flower and you can play with it. So and then it slowly unfolds into the actual message. You can edit it and resend it as a flower. Since we learned the technology there, it basically was a lot of work, a lot of learnings. And it even made it to place 4 in the App Store, which virtually means nothing, by the way. So you edit it, resend it, and you have kind of like a snowball system there. So that was a time where we started to do quite a lot of different type of projects. So one thing was mobile, one thing was on the web, the other thing was the installation, this is around 2008, 2009 now, and we realized that clients, started to like technologies. Clients are much more daring these days than they used to be. So this was a good example where we were approached by Werbewelt, and they're really, really tight with Hugo Boss. They basically play golf in Stuttgart all the time. So let me explain this project a little bit further. There's something called the Vendée Globe that I didn't know about before. It's like the toughest sailing race on Earth. It's like one person without help to race around the entire world. The no help thing is quite important for this one. So their idea was to send us data that is tracked by a telemetric system that these modern boats have all the time. So basically, this system knows everything. It knows the speed, the wind, the GPS coordinates, all this stuff. And they asked us to do a data visualization that they then could print each day on one of the Hugo Boss t-shirts. So our task was basically to build an engine that was able to produce one print per day as long as the race would go. So the way we approached this one was basically we put the data on a big globe, and then we zoomed in and then kind of visualized all the data that we got. One thing for sailing that is really important is, of course, the wind. We knew where it was. And this is basically one day. And they actually, he covered the entire coast of Portugal during this one day. It was for sailing quite speedy, I guess. The width of the string is basically the speed of the boat. Wind speed and direction are the waves that go around it. So this is then the final one-day visualization that was then printed on a t-shirt. And at the end, it took him 86 days to go around the entire world, and each of those days was then represented by one t-shirt. We didn't get one. It's just one unique t-shirt per customer. So at this time we realized, okay, clients are becoming more daring. They do more than they used to do. And I mean, this was not such a big project, but the guy could have drowned it like at the first day, and everything would have, all the work would have gone down the drain. So I was quite excited that clients are more interested in and probably take more risk than they used to do back at 2000. So I would like to go into some detail on our latest project. It's called GT Ride. It's for a client called Kia, and they basically have a sports car which is called Proceed, which is like a Golf GTI. What we built for them was a game and an installation. It's basically a racing game, but it has a little twist to it. They briefed us to do a social media campaign, which sounds very boring at the beginning. But we had we pitched like 10 ideas to them, and we had like one very simple idea, and it was basically the promise to build a racetrack by just waving your hand in mid-air with a smartphone or on an installation. This actually won the pitch. It's not that much, and then we start very slowly. I know this is very boring compared to nice movies, but that's really how we start. And we show this to clients, and they are very bored as well. But I find that it's good to work in an honest way, not doing funny 3D stuff where you don't know whether it's going to be that, but work very slowly and take the client into the process. So that's a bit more detailed, but compared to your 3D stuff, still quite rough. So then we start with more boring stuff. We approach the core technology problems. That is, are you really able to track the data with that iPhone? The thing is not built to do that, not in mid-air. It knows where you are in a city, but not exactly whether you were here or there. So that is very important for the success of one of those wonderful ideas. And that's the first thing we do when we tackle one of those projects. So, and then the nerd part of us becomes really, really exciting, and we think, okay, this might look really, really cool, you know? Client is still not excited. No shiny 3D stuff, I know. Still not excited. But that is actually Thorsten, our chief technical engineer, running from our studio up the stairs, through the kitchen, outside, taking a smoke with his iPhone. And that's the data that we track and that we visualize there. Then we do more prototypes. So this is probably the third week of a project. And that movie is not playing. Actually, this is a nice movie which looks ugly, but it shows that it's fun to race. It's actually fun to drive on the track. It's still not looking very nice. So, and only then, that's probably the fourth week into the project, very nervous client, we do this shiny rendering of what it's going to be. But by then, we know that we tackle every single problem and that we will deliver this type of quality. For 3D people, it's quite easy to render this. But to do this in real time, you need to be very, very sure, and especially to do that on a mobile phone, you need to be very, very sure that you have all the problems figured out. And only then we deliver that promise to a client. So then 4 months later, that's the 3D engine. There's no post-production, it's not rendered. It's still interactive stuff, not shiny rendered. But that's what finally came out of the actual 3D engine. And we took a lot of energy into making this seem as big and as magnificent as possible. And you can build these things with a 10-second motion, and then that's probably something that you build that you want to share, where we come back to that social media idea that sounded so boring in the beginning. Actually, we tweaked even the relations. The car is way too small. But if you have one small element, everything else seems very, very big. So again, there we try to emphasize on this idea, and that's the final installation then. And that is something, we do a lot of web work actually as well. What I really like about installation, you see people interact with it. Not like 1,000 users, 400,000 users. Just people. So this is a bit the workings, the type of work that we do and also how we approach these interactive projects. One thing that is very important to us is we dedicate 20% of our time or our company resources into experiments. In this case, this was a very literal experiment. The idea was whether we are able to build pictures with lightnings. It's what you call a proof of concept. It's not a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. And basically we found a way to have moving elements that would shape a lightning. And as a side product, we realized this can also do music. If you slow down the frequency, you have a different sound. So maybe one day this will be a very, very big installation, but so far it doesn't seem like a realistic project. But still, it's one of those research things that we do where we just try things out and maybe it becomes an idea later on. I prefer this to copy-pasting cool stuff on the internet and then calling it an idea later on. So yeah, we do this. This is like a hybrid thing. That was like an idea that we developed very early, and that went then into a pitch for Coca-Cola. Yeah, let me show you. So in the pitch was really about interacting with the cola, and they had nice visuals, like how the Coke runs down, everything. And we brought this idea along. It didn't win the pitch, but I still like the idea of how technologies become part of the real world. I think that is something that we all kind of want at a certain point. We don't want to be in a cyberspace. We want to have the benefits of technology here in our real world. We wanted to mix with it. So that thought was something that drove quite a few more projects where we come to the part of the future. I personally believe that something like the Oculus Rift is going to be like the Segway of gaming. Meaning, you don't want to have a fucking TV stuck to your face. It looks stupid. It's not something that it takes you out into a virtual world. It's not happening here. You want to have technologies happening in our world. That is something I personally strongly believe. And this is like the next project which is going, hopefully we will finish it in the near future. Do you know what ferrofluids are? It's quite popular. It's very cool black liquid stuff. What it has one behavior that is unique. It's magnetic. It's a real liquid that is kind of oily, a bit nasty, but you control it with magnets. And to me, that was something that was so exciting, because that is like where you can control material in our real world with virtual techniques. You can use electromagnets to shape real material in real time. So those are the first tests that we run, and the final idea is to have it like a holy water, like a fountain, and you approach it, and in real time it will show your face, but in a three-dimensional way, because it's being shaped by a camera and by 800 electromagnets. And I think it takes us another 2 months, but I'm pretty certain that we tackle it, or we wasted a lot of energy. However, it's quite an interesting project to me personally. So let me finish with the final result of the GT Ride project. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll finish my glass of wine. If you have any questions, I'll hang around and we can discuss them personally. Thank you very much.